this lighthearted, small group, ask questions. We'll have plenty of time, questions, answers. We'll do a quick introduction. My first time being a moderator, so go easy on me. I'll start. So my name is Josh Wallace, and I'm with Barker Weber Insurance. I manage the commercial insurance department, so I handle a lot of our larger customers, handle all of our cyber claims. I try to be a peacekeeper in our office, peacekeeper with the customers, try to explain what they're paying for, make sure it's right. And the rest of the group here will fill in all the blanks for today. So we have Jeff Williams. He's the program manager with Cybersecurity with the MMTC. Scott Spalding is the director of service delivery with Convergent Networks. And Devin Masson is the IT programmer at Advanced Turning and Manufacturing. So we'll just do a couple minutes of introductions, kind of what you do, and we'll get started. How's that?
Works for me. All right, so I'll start. Jeff Williams, I'm the cyber program manager for MMTC. Been in this role since late 2016, early 2017 timeframe. My primarily background is, as my wife says, anything that has a keyboard in front of it. So anywhere from system integration, development, design, architectural design, network administration, system administration, dipped my toe into programming for about 15 years. So kind of been there, done that type of scenario. So we primarily work with small to medium-sized companies, helping establish a risk framework, establish what their information system should look like. A lot of times it's simply a matter of let's take what you're actually doing and document that, formalize it a little bit more, all the way up through compliancy requirements. We are a not-for-profit that's partially sponsored by NIST. So we have a very strong connection to NIST and the DoD and various other entities. So a lot of compliancy regarding DoD's requirements. We worked very closely with AIAG to help them write the initial automotive requirements. So a lot of correspondence and communication, a lot of translation. When they say this is what they really mean. So that's kind of where we've been focusing primarily.
I'm Scott Spalding. I'm the Senior Director of Service Delivery for Convergence Networks. So we are a managed services provider and managed security provider. We generally are focused on small and medium business as well. Customers will bring us in to either manage their IT in totality, or it could be alongside an internal IT department where maybe they don't have expertise in an area. We're located up in Lansing, but we do serve a lot of Jackson customers. We do a lot of different things, I guess, from a technology perspective, from, just some of the things that Jeff mentioned, network administration, end user support. We have a security operations center that deploys tools to monitor and alert and remediate and eradicate, threats. We do have a consulting arm that will engage with customers to do compliance, whether that's, CMMC or HIPAA, PCI, any of those. And then I guess my role specifically, the NOC and our SOCs, our Network Operations Center and our Security Operations Center and our service desk all roll up to me. So I'm kind of in charge of the day-to-day taking care of customers, making sure that they are up, making sure they're secure, and making sure we're responding when necessary.
All right, I'm Devin Madison. I am probably the least qualified one up here. I am not specialized in security at all. I am an IT programmer at Advanced Turning and Manufacturing. So from my perspective, I'm more on the manufacturing side, working IT and working with the stuff day to day. So I'm hoping to bring kind of a perspective from that side of the fence, and what I kind of look at for security, and hopefully I can be able to help.
Yeah, so we're the ones that never really get to talk to Devin. As an insurance company, we're always talking with like leadership or a director, but we're trying to do more and more to where it's a team approach as we're talking cyber, because we need his input, right? Like, he's the one that has to figure it out. He's the one that's going to be working with our cyber carriers during a claim. He's the one that's going to be screamed at why we're not working, and he has no idea what's even in a cyber policy, what he can do or can't do. So it truly is a team approach with everyone to provide and to keep the network safe, you know. So I guess that's kind of a quick introduction of us. I kind of wrote down some topics to kind of go over just so we don't get sidetracked. Any questions, feel free to ask. Kind of the first one is just the cyber threat in the culture right now. Like I have different facts and data that we see, and I don't know if everyone else sees it. And we'll kind of look at like, what are your guys seeing? Where's it going? Like just some rough numbers to get us started. So between 2024 and the first quarter of 25, there's been an increase of targeting activities just for manufacturing sector, 71%. And those are just from my carriers. That's a hard number. And the manufacturing sector alone is a primary target for ransomware attacks, which doubled from 2022 to 2024. So your sector is being attacked way more than everybody else. So kind of leading into those questions, why are they being attacked? And what are you seeing on your guys' side for the nature of those claims?
I think I'll start with that. I think probably the biggest reason that we're seeing an issue is manufacturing sector as a whole has always put a very low importance on IT. Zero budget. I used to work for a manufacturer that when I hired, he said, when I buy technology, I only want to do it once every 10 years. So they obviously are a lot easier of a target. They're running older, outdated equipment. Maybe it's not patched. Maybe it's not updated. Generally speaking, obviously, not to offend anybody per se, so please don't, but lower technology capable individuals, maybe specialized in the shop floor, maybe they're a specialty in the front office, but maybe not very computer savvy or technology savvy. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it also increases that likelihood of an attack. So that's a big aspect about it. It is also because when we look at the supply chain in reverse, the lowest hanging fruit is the easiest way into the higher tiers. So if we can start at the lowest common guy who does not have any protection and slowly work our way up higher, it's a more appealing target from an entry standpoint, a lot easier to get in, a lot less risk for them to try to penetrate it. So we see a lot of that scenario. Still do see a lot of the lack of interest, even all the way down to, I worked with a company and their idea of ransomware protection was to just budget for it. And then that way when they had to pay, it just came out of the budget. It wasn't a big deal. That worked until they were paying their 7th ransomware in February. So, you know, obviously then they decided, well, maybe I need to change my tactic. So education is, I think, a huge thing when it comes to that, making sure they're aware of what the risks are, how to protect themselves, things along those lines.
Yeah, I think just to add, I agree, Jeff, that's kind of what we see with manufacturing customers. A lot of times, some of it isn't even that they don't want to upgrade. It's that maybe some of their outdated equipment is attached to a CNC machine and the upgrade cost is $1 million to replace the machine. It's not just upgrading an OS. So there are things you can do with those, like segregating them from your primary network. There's a lot you can do around that, but I think we also see that. The other thing I would say is just in ransomware in general, I don't know that there's another industry that gets more impacted when ransomware happens. I mean, if your systems aren't available, the company is losing money immediately. It's not, and it hurts. And so a lot of times I think why cyber criminals target there is because ransomware is a game of making money. They feel it's more likely that those companies are going to pay because they need to get rid of the pain. So it's one of the reasons that they target manufacturing. And then probably last, I think, you know, to kind of go with the security versus what I would say security versus convenience, it's really in manufacturing to me, efficiency is always going to be the top target, right? Because you're trying to push something through. So efficiency matters the most, and security often can be opposed to efficiency depending on what you're looking at. So that's another reason I think it becomes a financial decision for some organizations to prioritize efficiency over security. There are still things you can do that are low cost to protect yourself, but those are the things we see just in general with manufacturing.
Yeah, and I would agree with both of you guys that, yeah, there a lot of manufacturing, I feel, starts off small, and then as it grows, there is kind of some pain points with those things where a lot of those things cost quite a lot of money to be able to upgrade because it was kind of developed at a smaller scale, and as it continues to grow, it costs quite a bit of money to try and kind of change things around. And that's especially with like having the CNCs and stuff like that on the network, trying to get those, because like you buy a CNC machine, it comes with Windows 2003, and now that is on your network. You can't upgrade that. You have to buy a whole new machine. And then in order to be able to properly make sure that that's secure, you have to kind of segregate that on your network. And then you also have to have, if you're trying to transfer files, G-code files over to that machine, then you have to have some kind of system that can be able to go across that barrier. So it's just like trying to get from something that's simple and then trying to be able to build all of these extra systems out. It just starts adding money on top of money, and it's just that's where a lot of the pain points are. And because there's all those older systems in there, I can see why it's such a big target. Plus, I mean, manufacturing, depending on what they're making and who they're making it for, it could be highly beneficial on the information that they're getting. So it makes sense why it continues to grow at such a rapid rate.
So it's on my side, I could sit in like a customer's renewal meeting and we could spend 3 hours discussing property, liability, auto, and it comes to cyber and maybe it's 1 minute. But the chance of that claim of all those policies, it's in the cyber that year. Like, we see so many customers getting it. So part of it's just a cultural shift. And so like with myself and our customers, we're trying to change that narrative, right? And we feel you're going to have a cyber event. Like, you will have one. It's not a matter of like if, it's kind of a matter of when. So let's spend more time on that, because that's where it affects. No one's prepared. No one's planned. We were discussing this just out here a couple minutes ago that most of my cyber claims for my customers this year were on Sundays. Some of the times the customers didn't even know until they showed up on Monday. Scott, you were talking about some of your...
Well, I mean, cyber criminals they don't work during our working hours. They work when they think they're going to have the best success. And I mean, from our perspective, we actually always see an uptick around holiday time. It's very common because decision makers are less apt to want to get involved and have to do that on the holiday. I mean, nobody wants to do that on the holiday. So we see it often. We're always prepared for it. It's coming up on the end of the year. We're going to see it. We always do. And we had a customer that they just decided, no, we're just going to wait. I'll be back from vacation and I'm like, but you're down. Like, we can't wait. We have to do something. And they didn't want to. So cyber criminals know what they're doing. They know how to hit us, and that's their game. And, I think there's maybe something that a lot of organizations don't realize is they think, well, why would they hit me? What's my data worth to them? It's not what your data is worth to them. It's what your data is worth to you. It's what it comes down to. That's in the end what it is. So that's the important part. And that's, to me, why cyber criminals prefer ransomware. It hurts, and people are more likely to pay.
So the ransomware payout, the average cost for like a small manufacturer that's been hit with ransomware this year was $225,000. And that's just the average payout for small manufacturers. The average payout for a true data breach was over $3 million. So on my side of the world, part of that is making sure that the customer has the right policy. So you can get several different quotes on cyber, just like you can on your auto. One of the things that we won't sell is a cyber policy with defense limits inside of the limit, defense costs. So let's say you have a $1 million liability policy for cyber, okay? Are you paying their lawyers in that $1 million, or is there a separate limit outside that $1 million? So you can hit that $1 million limit in 2 days by paying all the lawyers and everyone behind the scenes. So you want a cyber policy that has defense costs outside of the limit, right? And when you have a cyber event, it's unique because you're going to feel like, oh my goodness, someone's just taking over all my stuff and I don't have a say. Devin's company went through a cyber event a couple years ago. And so what did it look like on your side? Like, how did you know? What did it look like? Were you able to participate in getting back and running, or did it feel like the Army just kind of fell down on you and you were told what to do?
No, so like the one thing that I was able to identify that somebody was even in our network was which most people don't get set up, is like a lot of systems, like say you're setting up like a server or database server or something like that. There's always the ability to set up like notifications, emails, and a lot of people kind of glaze over all that secondary stuff and they just want to get the thing up and running. Luckily, because we have a lot of notification systems, I was able to get notified right when things were going down. I got notified that our database server shut down. So I was at home, I was able to remote back in, got in, turned it back on, and then 15 minutes later, down again, get on there, and then I discovered that there's an actor on the network. So at that point, being able to go through and remotely be able to shut down our network pretty efficiently, in which we're able to get, relatively speaking, they weren't able to really lock down all of our stuff. They got a few servers, but due to backups, because we have very good layers of backups, as soon as we got the okay from insurance, like, hey, yeah, you can be able to touch your environment again, we were able to get everything back up and running pretty quickly because we had those systems in place.
So I got 2 questions. Like, did you find out how it happened so that you could fix wherever the hole was at? Because I feel like that's the hardest thing. We don't know where it came from. And then it's like fixed, but we don't even know if it's really fixed.
Well, and yeah, so it's there's like forensic that come in that we had to run software packages on every machine to try to figure out what kind of happened. It was still kind of vague on exactly how it happened, but ultimately, at the end of the day, there's always going to be holes. There's always going to be ways to get in, and like I said, it's not a matter of when. It's like it or if it's gonna it's gonna happen. So the thing, right? My kind of philosophy behind like our security posture is like we want to be able to slow down any movement inside our company, because the slower we can get them and the things we have set up, the more things, or the higher chance we have of them kind of tripping something that we can be able to recognize they're there.
So like our president got what? His account sent out like 10,000 emails.
It's a common thing today.
Nobody in our defense system, which I would call our IT group, seen anything that said, oh, stop. It went out, it happened, and boom, they were.
So to add on to your first question, usually in order to figure out, and our SOC is usually pretty good at this, but it all comes down to what logging is available.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Do we have logs? Are they adequate to provide what happened? To talk about, maybe, I'm sure your president suffered from probably what's called a man in the mailbox. Somebody compromised the mailbox. We see this often. Usually you can, it depends. Sometimes it can be difficult to alert on, but normally if you have an alerting tool in place for, say, like Microsoft 365, it can report on like out of country logins. Normally malicious actors are acting out of country. and you can configure 365 to not allow those logins. There's a lot you can do to protect yourself.
So did you help advise?
Yeah.
Because like we don't like I'm West.
Yeah.
So it's like that's what we're kind of looking for is the expertise to say you should be this this login, do this trade. I mean, so no, I feel like that's the
So Chad and I, to be honest, Chad and I were discussing this morning because, and then I actually brought it up to the group. I said, like, even Barker Weber, right? Like, I want an IT network partner, not a vendor.
yeah. I want somebody to come to me and say, this is what you need to be doing. And then when technology evolves and there's better protection, I want somebody to say, hey, we need to be doing this and we shouldn't be doing this. Somebody has to be on on this. Because what we're paying for is we're just paying for somebody to manage the after fact.
Yeah.
The guy sitting right behind you there. No, not that guy. The guy pointing. His name's Scott too. That's what he does. Is advise customers on
Okay.
moving forward from a technology and security
The other
perspective.
question I have was for you, Josh. So like our policy has a retainer.
Great.
And we didn't, when we had our situation, it did seem like we had a lot of legal fees because they pretty much just said, nah, we ain't gonna find anything anyway. So you owe the retainer, we'll cover the damages, and that's a done deal. So is that the same as what you're talking
Correct. So yours were separate. So basically, you had to pay your first 10 grand
Yeah.
or 5 grand or whatever. But there's policies out there that you can quote in 5 minutes, and I can choose if that defense costs for all the lawyers are included in your $1 million limit.
Okay.
So like you could look at a cyber policy, maybe it's 6 grand and this one's 4 grand, and you're just proposed, I'll take the 4 grand. That's a easy, but that could cost you 100 grand on accident.
Gotcha.
So, correct. And some of them, so we actually talked about this too. So I have some carriers that, once it's all done, they may just say, hey, you had a $10,000 retention, which is deductible. So you paid this 10 grand to this lawyer's firm. We got everything else. Just send us in when you. Now, Scott, we were talking the other day, and he had an issue with a customer that had a hack, couldn't access funds,
Okay.
and they required the deductible up front.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a challenge. They couldn't get moving until they were able to go meet with the bank because that was the only way to get at their funds, and they couldn't cut checks because their check cutting software was down.
Right.
So it's part of kind of business continuity planning.
That's one reason, and I think to kind of tack onto that I, especially when I'm helping companies in general, is emphasize, we think of disaster recovery as how do I recover from it, but part of that is that recovery program. It's understanding. I worked with a client very similar. They had a great policy. Policy required a police report. At the time, the police wouldn't create a report for a cyber incident. Policy was worthless. But if they'd have known that in advance, if they actually had that disaster preparedness plan to know who to call, what they need, how to do it, that type of an issue. What happens if I can't get to my bank account? Do I have a separate fund available for that? Understanding that up front, that's part of the protection side of things, making sure you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Or who to call and what to do.
You can bring in people to do tabletop exercises.
Yeah.
In fact, our company's doing one next week with our leadership team to go through like a scenario, and they're really helpful because you start off with this is what happened, and now this amount of time has passed, and now this has happened, and how well does your plan really be able to carry you through, or is it you're just scrambling? And you find out a lot.
And even when you do that tabletop, so we did one with a customer, and they used an OT vendor, so they were there, and I was there, and so the goofy things that came out of our meeting, payroll, like they couldn't figure out payroll. Like when the network's down, they could get parts, they could figure out some shipping, but they didn't know how to integrate with payroll. And so like that was the major thing for them. So now they kind of went back to their policies and procedures and had to contact their payroll company. How do we get you this information? Where are we going to guess for this week? How do we make it up? So like it wasn't necessarily like what came out of those meetings was like this groundbreaking,
No, but just something that come up.
something that you know that's correct.
Assume that you were going to be able to deal with that.
Correct. How do you print labels? Like you got these parts that still have to go out, but
Enough. Yeah.
it was the little things that we kind of came out of that.
Just,
Well, and some of it's being prepared for what you're going to experience. If you have full ransomware, one of the first things that we have to tell clients is if you're going to engage insurance, you're going to be down for a few days. Like it might be a week, depending on how long it's going to be. But it's kind of going back to you're not really in control once the insurance company comes in. They're going to dictate what happens, and they're going to probably bring in a digital forensics firm. And that's even for us. Like when our customers enact on their cybersecurity, our SOC is just taking orders from the digital forensics firm at that point. We're not doing it on our own. Now, some customers don't have cyber insurance policies, and then we have to kind of be in control and eradicate and remediate the problems. But it's, I think that's always like an eye opener for business owners, leadership, CEO. Like, what do you mean I'm going to be down for 6 days? Well, that's what it's going to be.
And so on what we see on our side too is once the police get involved, so whether or not they go to prosecute, they have a job and they need to try to retain as much as they can to prosecute or to find the bad person. That's our role. But they don't care if it takes them 3 weeks,
yeah.
right? Our customer has to get back up and running. And so the cyber carriers that come in and those firms, like it's a whole process. You have the legal team. They have a whole team that just works with the police department and just let them do their job because they're going to be able to talk to the police. They know how to work it. Like their job is to get you back up and running safely because they're the ones paying the bill. So let them do their job. It feels goofy. I had some text from the IT guy from my customer that got hacked this summer, and he was like, I don't even know if I'm allowed to be in this room right now. Like, I'm like, no, but they're going to count on you for a lot. Just wait your turn, right? But it can feel overwhelming. So to even have that plan of like, who's going to be the contact person from like that preparedness goes a long way when you get into those incidents, you know?
Maybe.
Kind of like going forward, I guess, from that part. Where are we seeing things going forward? We kind of had a little meeting in our group, like the future. So you got the CMMC that's coming up. We can kind of touch base with that. I'd kind of want to touch base with like some pricing that's happening, just what we see on our side with cyber going on right now. Let's just kind of hit like where are we going from here? Like for the people here, what are you seeing? What are the new things that are coming out?
I think to kind of change up a little bit, especially since how we're talking with manufacturers, and the gentlemen have already mentioned it a little bit. Part of the problem that we have is when we hear the word cyber, we think computers. And there's so much more involved in it. I usually tell people when I'm giving a presentation that I hate the term cybersecurity. I talk instead about business security, operational security, and information security. And that is especially true as we start going forward with Industry 4.0, interconnectivity with the devices that we may be putting on our networks. Had very common scenario now, I just bought this brand new machine and the manufacturer can remote in at any time and diagnose a problem. Does he need to? Why would you let him do that? Or can you control when he get in? So I think as technology becomes more sophisticated, our protection factors and awareness of what we have also has to become more sophisticated, because otherwise we are going to get stuck with various issues, which is partially why we're seeing things like CMMC, where it's no longer I can trust that the manufacturer knows what they're doing. I want somebody else to come in and validate that they're doing it. Or HIPAA, or all the various industries. And a lot of insurance companies want now a external risk posture before they're going to even insure you. So making sure that we're including more than just the computers, and probably the biggest thing that I always tell people is cyber as a whole is not IT's problem. It's a business problem. And you have to think of it as that way. Otherwise, something's going to get missed and you're going to run into trouble.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, security is a leadership issue. And if it's not driven by leadership, it's not going to get through your company. That's just how it works, because you won't get buy-in, because you'll get people yapping about how security makes it hard on me to do my job. And then if you don't have leadership buy-in, the company will not move forward from a security posture perspective. One of the things that Jeff talked about is really, when I think of like if you're thinking like, where do I start? Start by understanding what you have. Know where your data is. Know what your data is. What's confidential, what's sensitive, what's public, where is it at? Because if you don't know that, you can put in all kinds of controls, you can put in all kinds of monitoring and alerting, but if you're not aware of where you are storing things, you're probably going to have a blind spot. And so that's a really important thing to do, just from a general practice of improving your business as a whole. Not to go on to the other hot topic of the time, but AI is going to require you to do that too. If you want to leverage AI in any way, shape, or form in your business, AI is a great tool, and it can be a great tool. But if you're not protecting, or you don't have your data where it needs to be with the right people having the right access, they're going to be able to look up stuff you don't want them looking up. And that's a dangerous thing to have out there.
Yeah, and we can even see that. I chuckle because, everyone's AI. And maybe you saw it, maybe you missed it, but OpenAI had an issue where they had a configuration change. And what it did was it opened search histories for other individuals to be indexable. So you could actually Google for a period of, was it 48 hours? Do you remember?
I think so.
It's like 48 hours. You could Google a term, and Google would bring back to you the search results of other people's OpenAI or ChatGPT search history, which included any confidential information, any file attachments they uploaded, any addresses, that type of thing. It was very popular, but they weren't taking the security conscious aspect. And as a result, now that information's out there. So there's always that consideration. Security has to come first. Otherwise, you're going to run across something and it's going to cause you trouble.
Yeah. Well, and especially because most companies, they're kind of looking for that new shiny thing.
Yep.
I want this thing because it's going to make us so much more efficient and stuff like that, where you really have to take a step back and look at the foundation of your infrastructure and make sure that that's solid before keep on throwing on new shiny toys, because when you're doing that, you're just making it more and more to manage. And if there isn't a good foundation that you're building all that stuff on top of, you're just making yourself more and more vulnerable to be attacked. So the thing is don't sit there and go, oh my God, this is gonna make us so much more efficient. It's like, take a second, reel back, make sure that foundation is solid, and then you can look at moving forward. But it's not, once it gets solid, that's solid forever. You have to keep on reassessing that. So like, I feel it's always good to do like a penetration test and always monitoring and always checking how the posture of your infrastructure is, to make sure that you are at a solid standing to continue moving forward with everything else.
So I'll say what's changing in our world too, which affects you guys. So I'll use Chad. I know Chad. So let's say Chad's one of my customers, okay? And then Scott does his network. When we look at cyber in the years before, I'm going to email this application over to Chad. He's going to look at it, not have a clue what it means. He's going to send it over to Scott to fill out. Right? That's just kind of what we've done, right? Goes. And so now the problem is there's so many claims, and it's costing everyone a lot of money. Cyber policies are getting more expensive. We want to have that conversation, because I can look at my cyber policy and say, Chet, like my underwriters are saying, if you can do this, I can save you $3,000. And Scott can look at it and say, well, if you do that, it's only going to cost you $1,000.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just not the blind handoff anymore. I mean, it can be done in emails, but it really is a team approach to find the best value. Don't waste your money spending more on the cyber insurance if you can pay a little bit more and maybe even save money to prevent that, right? So it's really a team approach on our side to try to find that best value for the customer and not just sell someone a high dollar cyber policy because we just got this sheet of paper back, right? Like,
Right.
I don't know, maybe you guys see that, or I don't know what you see on your side, but that's what we're seeing with the pricing out right now is we could hand in one sheet of paper before and get a good price, and now we want to know what your plans are for next year, what's your plans for 2 years. Like, it's a lot more, as we talked about, we need that partner and not a vendor or subcontractor.
And I will say, I see that type of situation way too much. Call and talk with a company and they say, well, I don't know, my IT guy handles that. Well, who's your IT guy? Well, it's just somebody we hire. He comes in when we need him. So the awareness and the understanding and the knowledge of, you still need that authorizing official. You still need that program manager internally who should be working with the partnership of the external IT to have them implement what you need and want within your boundaries. Far too often, and I'm sure you hear it too, is, well, I hired him, so it's not my problem.
I think what Josh is kind of getting to, where I feel is like, I don't know what I need or what I should have. So we're depending on, almost a consultant to come in and be a part of what we do and how we operate and recommend what you should do and what we shouldn't. And so I think that's the struggle with all of it. I'm just speaking for myself. I'm a small manufacturer. I don't have a payroll to throw all these project managers and people at us. So we are looking for a partner that we bring in and can help guide us right throughout that path and continue to build upon them when things change a month from now and 6 months from now.
Yeah. And hopefully that is the relationship. It's more of a virtual employee who's doing work for you and that partner relationship instead of just that handoff.
So yeah, I pointed to Scott earlier. His title is virtual CIO. So his role for our customers is to do exactly what you said, help guide a customer, identify gaps, help them remediate those things. We go through cybersecurity questionnaires all the time. They come over when a customer's going through a renewal. It is frustrating when a customer goes to like 13 different insurance companies and it's like, wait. You can't fill out 13 of these things. But there are a lot of things in those questionnaires that are more project or capital expenditure items that usually will save time over money. Think of like removing local admin rights, right? It's not a ongoing cost, it's a one-time thing. Or, maybe getting a next-gen firewall. There's things there that we've run into some cyber or insurance providers that if customers running Fortinet right now, it's like, no, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
Because Fortinet had a problem where their source code, it's bad if your source code gets exposed. Their source code was exposed, and your firewall is the perimeter protection device for your internal network. So there's a lot you can do that isn't going to be as to what Josh was saying, that may be more cost effective to fix on your side to get a lower, and it probably provides you better protection, which is why, of course, the insurance companies are driving it.
Right. Yeah. Well, that first.
Yeah, the other thing too is what we see is you can have a great policy, have a great network, but it all starts with our employees. We do safety training at manufacturers, you get new hire orientation, all this, but most of the people we see don't get any type of cyber training, don't get any training on, hey, if someone calls you from XYZ network company, says that they need help logging on to reset your password, don't give them your password. You know what I mean? Like, there's some basic trainings that need to be done with all of our employees, because that's where it starts. That's the first level of defense.
It's not even that. Like, there's kind of a guy in the cybersecurity space. His name was Kevin Mitnick. He he used technology to run from the FBI in the 90s. He's kind of a legend in that space. He went to jail because you don't run for the FBI forever, right? They eventually catch you. When he got out, he started a company that it will go and try to do full-on penetration tests with specific goals. And the statistic that he told us is when he can only use technology alone, his success rate was like 40%. As soon as he can use people, it's 100%.
Wow.
Always gets in. And it's because people are busy. They don't have time to think about security, and you have to kind of put it front and center.
And it looks real.
Yeah. Yeah, we've done.
Things that, like, trip me off, like, bad old English.
Yeah. We've done penetration tests for a few customers. We got the keys to the Escalade. This is physical penetration tests. We got keys to a helicopter. And these are things we should not be getting. But you can go in and say, yeah, I'm with a utility company.
Yeah.
And I got a problem back there. It was a power outage, You wait till a power outage happens in the city. And you just go, yeah, we got to check on some things. We had the power outage last week. We need to get in. You'd be surprised how often people are not stopped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we see the same type of thing. Walk around the building 3 times and somebody goes, can I help you? And you just go, no, I'm okay. And they go, all right, have a good day. And just let you keep right on walking. The other thing too, and I don't know if you noticed this at all, but I've run across it with other insurance policies, is a lot of times there's clauses in there about voluntary disclosure of information. And they classify that employee clicked on that ransomware. Well, he voluntarily clicked on it. I've had a few customers that have gotten burned in the past because of those type of things. Whereas something like training and education, just even small reminders, hey, it's holiday season. Remember, you probably didn't really win that $50 Amazon gift card. Those type of keeping it in the forefront of the mind without it being you better not click on that, helps them to reduce that and click that. Maybe I got to think twice before I run whatever is attached here. Do they know what the information they can share if somebody calls them? Do they know how IT is going to get in? Remote work from home has been a penetrator's dream because now it's really easy for someone to go, yeah, I'm IT just working from home today. And if they don't know that IT is not supposed to call that way, they could easily be burnt. There was an end story about 4 or 5 years ago. It was the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office that they had just that, where an individual just called, worked his way in. They had to wipe their entire system and rebuild it from scratch. It was down for 3 months because they did not know, and it was simply because their employees were not trained to know how is IT supposed to get a hold of us. So that definitely comes into an issue.
Popular one we see running right now is you have a problem with your QuickBooks.
Yeah.
We need to get in and fix that.
Yeah.
We see it all the time, and people will do it. And it's just training. And there's things you can do right from just having a training program that sends many trainings, but sometimes that's just not enough.
Yeah.
A lot of people are just what I would call checking the box. And I'm going to watch the video. I probably learned something. Did I remember it an hour later? Maybe. But there are other training things you can do to create better awareness.
Do you guys have any questions in particular that we can try to answer? We kind of left some time towards the end. If anyone has anything that comes to mind that we didn't hit on today.
I do. Just the your risks really just sort of boil down to like a small handful of reasons that a company is at risk for cyber. Is it old tech, network security, and then sort of the human element, like proper procedure requirements?
High level.
Yeah, at a high level, yeah. Employee awareness and training is definitely a huge one. Complacency is probably the biggest issue. It's not going to happen to me. My debt is not worth anything.
That's right.
Oh, I already got hit. Lightning never hits twice. That is a big concern. for lack of a better term, ignorance.
Yeah.
I don't know what I don't know, so I'm not going to worry about it. You know, those type of things is where we do see a lot of the issues come in. There's always a chance that it's going to be some random thing that no one ever thought of, and yeah, I can't believe you got hit by it. But the goal is to take care of those things that I can, which make it a lot more obvious when one of those unknown things occurs. I mean, you know, database server going down twice in 30 minutes. That's never happened before. Something's going on. But if we don't know how often our database server goes down ever, it may just be a bad night. And it's going to be a really bad day the next day. So those type of elements, I think, are key.
Yeah, I would say just focus on identifying where your stuff is so you know where to focus your spend from a protection perspective. Good example would be, I don't know how many people are in cloud productivity suites. I'm assuming most of you are in 365 or in G Suite. Those platforms are always on. That's a cyber criminal's dream. They can hit that all day long. And if you're not protecting those, and if you think like Google's protecting it or Microsoft's protecting it, they're not. That's not their role. They're just providing the tool. Sure, they're going to update it, but you can configure those things to be as loose as you want or as secure as you want. And it's really important. Same way I would say with like your firewall. Your firewall is a perimeter device, sits on the edge, it's public facing. If you have, it doesn't happen so much anymore, but if you have what's called remote desktop protocol open on your firewall, it's probably getting discovered in 24 hours by a malicious actor. That's just how it is today. So there's a lot of basic things you can do. And to go back on what Jeff was saying about ignorance, a lot of people just don't know where their data is. And so they don't, it's not like, they just don't know what to fix. And that's where you really need someone to guide you or have somebody to champion that internally to understand where is my data and how do I protect it.
That's one of the first things that usually, you know, the first question we always get asked is, what's this going to cost me? I have no idea. I've never been in there. You know, 2% of annual revenue, let's just start there. And then obviously let's work it down. But that's always, I usually tell people one of the things is a lot of times it costs you nothing, because once we go through and map your processes, we map where your data is, who's touching it, how's it touching it, you see the opportunity for process improvements immediately, and that offsets any cost that you're going to end up putting into improving your security. Sometimes it's just as easy as that. Why does sales have to touch this data 35 times? They shouldn't be touching it at all. Remove that, and there's a huge risk factor that was eliminated. So that fourth on, and we mentioned it, asset management. Do you know what assets you actually have? Both hardware, software, and data. And why is it an asset? Why do I classify it an asset? That's something that I think a lot of companies need to start with.
You know, as much technology and everything we're talking about, when you said cyber isn't cyber, shouldn't be called cyber insurance. One of the claims that's going on right now costs as much as this sheet of paper and an envelope and a stamp, and it's ACH.
Yeah.
So we're finding people just going in and picking a local company, getting the logo off the website, putting it on, saying that they've changed the ACH payments to this one. Please call if you have any questions. They put a wrong phone number on there, and they're just getting transferred money left and right.
And what they're doing is, so to give an example, they're not they don't even try to gain access to the environment to do this. They have to have some knowledge of the organization, but say we were compromised, our domain name is convergencenetworks.com. They may go register a domain, Convergence Networks without the E at the end of convergence, send you an email, say, hey, this is where you send your payments now. And unless you're checking, we see it a lot. We see that those things happening a lot.
Which is that, because I feel like we got educated on the hard way. But our customers are not, we have no way to control that. We have no way to control that they changed our E to a degree, sent it to the customer, started having communications with them. They switch ACH accounts, we're asking where payment is. And so we've been internally asking, like, what can we do to help that, like, outside of a secure portal of distribution to,
That's kind of what you have to do. If you really want to stop that type of activity, you have to control how you're going to get paid in a certain way. And it's really the only way.
And you're not alone. I mean, I know right now one of the big initiatives that we see coming out of NIST and out of the government is supply chain risk management. How do I manage my customers' risk? How do I manage my vendors' risk? I mean, in a way, you have to.
when that procedure goes in, because we've had customers where like, well, and what we'll do first is like, what's your internal procedure? Well, we call you, and I'm like, but you didn't call us. They may have called the wrong number. That's
right.
But you didn't call us, and so, I mean, our internal policy is we call that vendor and we confirm some transaction on our accounts. So if, let's just say NAF because they're a customer of ours, if they change their ACH, we're gonna call them, they're gonna verify a payment on their account, I'm gonna verify a payment on my account, and they better match or we're not doing anything. So, but to get like our customers all over the world to adhere to that, oh my gosh, we feel negligent because we're not doing as much as we feel like we could. But I don't know if you can.
Yeah. And there's a lot of initiatives. DoD's, for example, I mean, not to get into too deep with CMMC, is flow down clauses. So therefore, if your vendor has an issue, it's your fault, not theirs. So, I'm going to force you to make sure your vendors are. It doesn't work. It does in a way, but at the same time, that's not the best way of handling it. And I know myself, I hate dealing with compliancy because the worst time to talk to somebody about something is because they're told they have to do it. It's pushback, it's resistance, it's a fight. But that is, and I think there are a lot of supply chains that are going that way. If you're going to work with us, you have to prove that you can handle certain bits of information. And that's, that type of it. We're going to establish a communication chain that if something comes up, here's the accepted protocol for communication before it's authorized. So, I mean, eventually we're going to have to get to that point for a lot of things.
But it does come down like you were talking about training at the lowest level.
Yeah.
I mean, they may have hired a new accounting clerk. We're asking for payment because we got a machinist, and it gets down to that person. Okay, yeah, we're done. It's done. It's gone. There's no give them money back.
Yep.
Ever.
So what we see on our side too is, so like if there is a cyber event, we're trying to guide our customers a little bit, right? So if someone has a cyber event, you even know where to find your policy number at. If you can't access your emails, what phone number do you call? Do you texted me at a soccer game, Chad? Right? So you look at like when the ISD went through, when all of our kids were home for a couple days.
Yeah.
That was a Sunday, right?
That's right.
And it started at 4 a.m, something like that. And they called a coach from Holt, who they knew worked for the business, at noon. Didn't even know how to contact to even get it started. So a lot of our carriers now, people think it's Big Brother, but we absolutely love it, and our companies have loved it. They're required to have an app on their phone by the carrier, so it's direct communication. They know who you are. So if you have a cyber claim, you're not emailing me because I don't want to be hacked, and you're hitting the button on your phone. And that's starting the communication back and forth. They know it's secure. It's their app. We see that a lot right now. We like it. Our customers, at first it was a big pushback, like, oh, great, Big Brother. But when they've had to use it, it's instant. You're not waiting for our office to open because they're not knowing that Barker Weber's opening at 8:30 in the morning, right? As you spoke to. So there's a lot of things that's coming out on our side that hopefully is better. So we're even telling our customers, hey, when we sit down in a meeting, I want you to take a picture of this page, policy number, phone number, after hours number. Like, you need it somewhere outside your emails, right? If you're on vacation, at least you can go back to your picture. Like, no, you got to call. And maybe if a Lions game is on, you still will wait, but
I would wait till what?
But yeah, so that's what we're seeing on our side, is just that they're trying to embrace that technology to secure that connection, because there's a lot of times there are hours and hours and hours of delay before they can even get started.
And change is hard. I mean, let's face it, nobody likes change. Communication definitely comes into play, especially for that. Hey, I need you to put this app on there. And if that's just the way it is, then it's why? What's it going to do? Is it going to watch me? Where's it going to go? But here's what the app is for. Here's what it's going to do. Here's what it's going to access. This is the benefits of it. Having that open communication to be able to get the individual to understand, and even that's internally too. If we're talking with our employees, if we're talking with our vendors, if we're talking with our customers, it's not just a thou shalt. It's this is why we're doing it. Here's the benefit for us. More importantly, here's the benefit for you. And being able to make sure that that's clear usually alleviates a lot of that big brother is watching type of scenario.
Yeah, we still have customers that will, or at least users at customers that will be like, no, MFA, it's too hard. It's like the banks don't ask, you're gonna do it. Like that's the game. If you want to do online banking, like you're gonna do it. Like, and it may be text-based even, but they're gonna require something. They're not just going to let you have online banking without it. It's kind of the mentality of what has to happen with some of the security things that need to be put in place, because you're always going to get pushback because people are going to say it's not convenient.
Yeah.
It slows down. I'm not productive. And that's why it becomes a leadership decision.
Yeah.
I had a customer say that they didn't want to do it because they were afraid their employees would make them pay for their cell phone use. And
I hear that a lot.
you know what I mean? Like, that's what we hear on our side, but you're like, but the potential downside is, you know, how many tens of thousands of dollars. And so it's just working that story, working to your, you know, talking to the employees to explain why you want to do it. I mean, they also realize too, like their personal information is on that network. I mean, their social numbers on there, their payroll information's on there, right? Like there's a benefit for your employees to be better protected as well. I mean, it's a win-win for everybody.
And that's definitely, again, I mean, it's been said several times, it has to start from the top. I mean, IT can want to do things and push things, but if management's not there to back them up, it's never going to succeed. You know, management itself can set policies and procedures, but if a competing manager doesn't want it, it's never going to succeed. So it's whatever that highest level is, there has to have that consensus on this is what we're doing and here's why, and we're going to do it.
So even in our office, we separated our data a couple years ago. So like I'm the commercial manager, and then I have a management drive. We use SharePoint, you know, so like we have personal lines group, accounting, so we're all separated, operations. And I remember being in meetings like, oh my goodness, this is gonna be horrible. I'll never be able to get to this form again. And honestly, we've done it 2 years, and I can't even tell you one piece of paper I've needed to see from a different, but it's protected us so much better than how we were set up before.
I refer to that as the junk share. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody's got a junk drive at home, right? I mean, what's in that junk drawer? You open it, and who knows what's in there? Everything gets thrown in there. Most companies have a junk share. Hey, I need to get this over to accounting, and they don't have access to my share, so I'll copy it to the junk share, and then they can copy it, and then it's there forever. That is a hacker's dream, is a junk share, because everything is there, and chances are, real quickly, that becomes the only live source of information, because it's convenient, it's easy. You know, so those type of things of, again, from a management push down, no, we are not doing this because IT working with that to allow ease of information sharing across platforms. Maybe it's just we'll grant you access on a temporary basis. But without that foundational risk strategy of how we're going to address these concerns and issues, it's just the Wild West.
I think that starts from the physical environment of the company as well, that they want to be agile. They don't want things to be so structured and because they want to be able to just keep on moving, getting these tasks done. So what ends up happening is somebody in shipping is now doing this quality function, and they need these files over here in quality in order to do that because the boundaries just aren't well defined. And it's like, yeah, it's helping to make you efficient today, But really, if you once you actually get things structured, it isn't as bad as most people think, and it makes things a lot easier. And you know where things are. You know how to, if you're inside this lane, you know how to get to everything. You're not having to jumble around with a bunch of stuff or trying to call somebody that, hey, where is this? Because it's all a mess because there's no well-defined boundaries. So a lot of people are scared about getting that structure, but it is so important. And then once they do, I think that they're so surprised how more efficient they really are.
And I think that is another key point that leads to that as well, is the organizational culture. If you are living in an organizational culture that is resistant to change, it's very difficult to have a good cyber posture. A lot of times that becomes okay, IT, if you're not in a situation where you can easily say, we're going to remove administrative shares because everyone's going to have a meltdown, now you have to somehow figure out a way of supplementing what you can't push through on a cultural basis. That's where things start becoming expensive. Because now I am buying software and hardware and all these other looping in additional third-party companies that are maybe having them do things that they don't necessarily even need to do because the culture is resistant to adapting to a new strategy internally. And that's a lot of times, that's the starting point, is we got to fix the culture before we can fix the environment.
So we're pretty much out of time, but any closing thoughts? I think you guys are all going to be around this afternoon. So if you have questions, feel free to look them. There'll be help wandering or at a booth. Any closing thoughts?
No, I think, cyber is one of those things that we all think about, but we tend to ignore. What we always say is we're going to be in this position until cyber becomes as much of a part of business as payroll. If it becomes the basis for everything we do is understanding our risk associated to it, it's going to help go a long way. But outside that, it does not have to be expensive. But at the same time, sometimes there is a cost associated to it. Do I need to have a cyber professional on staff? No, that's why organizations are out there to help supplement that. But without that awareness, without that knowledge, without that understanding that it is important, then unfortunately it's going to fold.
I guess my only closing thoughts is know what you have. Figure out what you have, where your data is, where your important data is. That's the first step. If you haven't done that, do that first. Because anybody that's going to come in to consult with you, that's the first thing they're going to make you do.
Yeah. Yep.
Or else you're going to pay for blanket security, which is probably going to be more expensive than if you know exactly what you need to protect.
Yeah, I mean, bouncing off you guys, it's not that IT isn't just some overhead. It's really now at the point where it's part of the business, and it really needs to be thought of as part of the business, even though it's not directly producing what the company is producing. It is part of that core business, and a lot of companies need to start thinking of it as a core component.
I guess my closing is thank you for coming. It starts with your employees, and if someone can find a way for the attackers to work on normal business hours, I would greatly appreciate it.
Well, work for us.
So thank you, everyone.
Thanks.